When Summertime Rendering first started, a lot of people were saying it's basically ReZero, and I was like the only person that was pushing back and saying, no, it reminds me more of Higurashi When They Cry, but I do understand that it's a lot easier to get the more modern day anime fans' appeal by saying ReZero. But after episode 21, yes, that was probably the most I Love Amelia scene I have ever seen in another anime. It's just this one moment where you kind of know where it's going. This main character has obviously been obsessed with this one person for this whole time, and you know this other girl is obsessed with him, and eventually she's going to confess, and yeah, we'll have that moment of, I'm sorry, Mio, I love Ushio. I'm like, dang it. And just like ReZero, it hurt just all the equal, but at least with this case, I love Ushio too. Whereas the first season of ReZero, I was fine with Amelia, just not attached to her at all. I was attached to, yeah, this squirrel right here. Anyways, yes, feel bad for Mio. Seeing it coming. Heart breaks for her. It seems like she bounced back pretty quickly, although she had her moment to kind of break her tears with Tokiko. I do love what the Shadow Mio says afterwards. I'm getting ahead of myself. Great episode. It was actually felt like this was being episode 21 of 25, I really feel like this is kind of our last, like, breather moment. It felt like a very laid-back episode. You know, this let the dust settle a little bit before we go off to the big climactic battle. Now, we could still probably have one more moment with the characters coming together because obviously we just got Ushio back. Although she has all of her memories, so it's not as if we have to get caught up on anything. But I think there was a lot of stuff in this episode that was necessary. Now, there was one thing that really didn't make any sense to me, and we'll get to that when I get to it, but overall, solid episode. Opening up the episode, we have Shinpei talking with Hishikata, and this is where we get a clear picture that Shinpei obviously has the ability of Ryunosuke now. He keeps kind of foreseeing things. I like how he cuts off Hishikata at some point. He foresees this lightning, and Hishikata's like, when were you able to do that? Now, it's funny because at first I thought it was actually Shinpei that was talking to Hishikata. In actuality, it seems like, you know, again, obviously making the connection that, yeah, he's seeing the future because Ryunosuke can see the future. For a minute there, I thought that Shinpei was just borrowing his ability, implying this idea that Shinpei could possibly see the future despite the fact that Ryunosuke is not in control. But now that I think about it, no, Ryunosuke was out there standing next to the beach. Hishikata came to talk to Ryunosuke, and Ryunosuke was basically telling him, hold off a day. We don't want to report yet. We want to keep people out of the picture for now. Don't report to the family and all that kind of stuff. We need to handle this situation first. This is where we get the reveal from Hishikata that it seems as if Katakiri. My assumption was that Katakiri had multiple bodies because they had multiple children, but at least it seems like from Hishikata's perspective, no, that's not the case. It's just that he had a body before. It died after the war. And I didn't know what happened to the body. So it seems like they have some way of preserving bodies, probably preserve them in shadow, mud, or something like that. But the only thing he doesn't know, the only thing that Hishikata can't really put is how does he preserve the body? And two, how does he control it? Implying that these are not living beings, which makes perfect sense why there's no data there. If they're already dead, they might not be able to get data from it. After this, we get a really brief scene of So kind of being frustrated himself that he can't help more, seeing that Shinpei is carrying all this burden upon himself, while Nezu's really kind of pressing on him that, you know, Shinpei made the decision that he did. Her fate was sealed the moment that he made the decision he did, but he saved everybody else in the process. I was kind of expecting them to be the usual, you know, you do realize that he saved all these people despite the fact of losing her. Don't let that go to waste. Don't feel bad about that because we saved these people. She was just the only one that wasn't. Don't have those regrets. But really, again, his mindset's more on the idea that stuff happened, and he made this decision. These people survived. She died. Keep it in perspective, I guess. That's when we get the big reveal, finally, that yes, the shell does at least contain the memories of Ushio. And it seems like based on what Shadow Mio is kind of suspecting is that, yes, we can sense it. We can sense that her data is inside of there. That's why they were afraid of you. But the speculation that we're building here is that when Ushio scanned Katakiri or Shide, she gained the knowledge of being able to store her data there. It seems like whatever she scanned at that moment made her realize, oh, I have an out here. I can store my data in the shell and still be able to survive. So she did that the last second, storing it, which would make sense why she said notice or something like that, and just before she disappeared. So at least it gives an explanation as to why Ushio had the knowledge she did. She basically scanned somebody that had a lot of knowledge, and that gave her the out that she needed. That this wasn't just something that they made up on the spot. There was a reason for why she had the out that she did. So really cool. But of course, the problem they have at this point is, can you scan it? Nope, can't scan it. Because, yes, we're still in the understanding that Ushio is similar to Heine herself, because she technically is a spawn from Heine. So similar to Heine, who has basically made it to where she cannot be scanned by anybody. Being a spawn from her, additionally, Mio cannot be scanned by other shadows. Now, obviously, yes, the question mark is then why can this other shadow Mio scan this memory? Maybe it's just because they're the same data there. She's able to get around that. Just as if Heine, I guess, ran into another one of herself in another timeline, she would be able to scan herself. But yeah, this is where we get the reveal that Shinpei obviously acknowledges that, yeah, technically in this timeline, we pulled an Ushio from another timeline that got lost. In this timeline, technically Ushio is still out there. The Shadow Ushio is still out there, recovering from when she was trying to save Shiori. So all we have to do is wait for her to come back at the day of the festival. That's when we found him on the beach. And then she can scan this information and we're all good. Problem is that they know Shide and Heine are not going to wait. They're going to go look for her too. So yeah, that kind of turns into a whole race to see who can get to her. But before that, we get the turn down scene. Well, first we get the first confession by So to Mio. I thought that was really mean. So is in there talking about everything they kind of lost, talking about, this is where, yeah, So technically confirms at this point my frustration I had in the previous episodes that yes, in fact, the moment that they brought Ushio through the time loops, that's when we created the pseudo time loop. So at least my mentality was correct there, that every time they've had Ushio travel, they were creating these pseudo time loops. But yeah, Mio comes in looking for Shinpei, and yeah, so it's like, goes to confess, and she's like, I'm the Shadow, you know that, right? I'm sorry. Yes. He calls it out. I guess I give So a lot of credit right here, because I think one of the coolest things that you get from the whole doppelganger aspect is, or twins, the twin aspects, like quintessential quintuplets. Well, the thing that they always kind of play off of is that you don't know a person well enough because you can't tell them apart. And so, at least right here, So does seemingly recognize that this is in fact Mio. This is the regular Mio. I would argue that the moment that she came in, she sounded like the regular Mio. And then it was when she responded to him that she sounded like the Shadow Mio. So I guess that's probably where he would catch. I caught it, so it was kind of funny the moment that he does throw her off. I'm like, okay, good. Because Shadow Mio and regular Mio is like the most easy to tell apart, because Shadow Mio is like super monotone. Like, she's super, like, deadpan or whatever you want to call it. Super monotone, whereas, yeah, the regular Mio is more timid. She gets thrown off very easily. She's more emotional, very more emotional than the regular Shadow Mio. But yeah, he's like, yeah, so you know, and yeah, still no. Poor So. He got friend-zoned. Just like regular Mio got little sister zoned. Yeah, regular Mio finally confronts Shinpei and tells him that she loves him, and he's like, I'm sorry, I love Ushio. I mean, I guess I give him credit for at least being perfectly honest with Mio, but that's similar to the whole I'm sorry, I love Emilia thing. It's always been this kind of really heartbreaking thing when you have somebody turn somebody down and immediately say why. It's because I love this person more. It's like, just turn her down. You don't have to come out and say, no, sorry, your sister beat you. That's literally what you're saying, Shinpei. You're saying your sister beat you. And yes, at the same time saying, and I only see you as a little sister. You're a little sister zoned. But Ushio, yeah, I don't see her as a sister. I see her as something more. It's just so mean. Like, can you put all this stuff in a wording that's even worse? But I love the next scene so much. Of course, again, regular Mio goes back to Tokiko, is crying in her arms. Tokiko's perfectly fine with the situation, you know it. Tokiko's like, yes, come to me, bury your chest there. But no. I love how, like, Mio is, like, so heartbroken, obviously. She's crying even though she claimed, like, she's like, oh, I'm glad I got that in my chest. I didn't want to die without telling you. I'm perfectly fine. Let's be sister and brother. Leaves, cries her eyes out with Tokiko, and then the first thing that comes out of Shadow Mio's mouth is, well, he does know that that's the Shadow Ushio, right? So after the festival, she's gonna be gone anyways. Did you ask him about that? Mio's like, he's not some playboy. Of course I wouldn't ask him that. But it's true. But it's true. Again, it's true. I don't know. It goes back to playing that whole thing with, like, where's the conclusion gonna go? Like, how is things gonna solve? Because obviously, again, I think when we were first talking about who's best girl, the big sad thing that you obviously come to mind is that the end goal here is that they're going to be all gone. Now, I would argue that even with Haine gone, there's a chance that Shadow Ushio can live on, because Haine can live on, and if she dies, her shadows disappear, but Ushio's not her shadow. Ushio is Haine. She is a fragment of Haine. So there's nothing to say that if her original self dies, that this fragment dies too. They could live separately. Just like when Ushio died, the assumption is that Haine lived on. Now, we didn't get to see in that time loop if she did indeed die because Ushio died, but the assumption there is that the one or the other can live on without the other. It's just all the other ones, Shadow, Mio, all them have to go. But again, my prediction is still that it's going to be a full reset, back to the very beginning. Haine does everything and everybody lives happily ever after. But we'll see. As per usual, if you know the manga, don't say anything in the comments, please. Thank you. Here was the weird scene. Because we have this brief moment where we see a little bit of Shadow Shinpei or Haine and Katakiri talking. It's just the festival's kicking up and everything. And Haine is specifically talking about how she can't see Shinpei. He's covering up his presence. He's hiding somewhere. He's like, well, you know where he's at, right? Don't you have the mark on it? Yes, the mark will always remain with him. It's actually his existence, his being is marked. It's not like his arm is marked. It's not my original assumption was that you just cut it off and he won't be able to find you, but no, it's actually marked on his existence. But something's covering it up. And the assumption here is that it's being covered up because Shinpei at this current moment is Ryunosuke. Ryunosuke has taken over his body, and thus that's covered up the existence of Shinpei. Now, the weird thing is it doesn't really tell us where they're at. like Ryunosuke as Shinpei is chilling with Nezu somewhere. They're in a box or something. My assumption is that they were in a cargo or something, that going out to the ocean, because eventually we see Shinpei jumps inside one of these shadow babies and they goes down shadow babies. I just realized how stupid that sounds. Shadow babies, and goes in the water to chase after Ushio, but they're sitting in this random container talking, and it was a really cool scene though. It was a nice moment where Ryunosuke was able to tell Nezu what Hizuru thought. She wanted to thank you for saving her life so long ago. And you get this little cute moment where Nezu realized, yeah, and I wasn't sure what I thought about her writing a book, but it's interesting to be written as a hero. Yes, this book that she wrote, he was in it as a hero. Because obviously, it was a true story. Yep, that's all leads up to the ramp up at the very end where Shinpei, inside of a torpedo shadow baby, goes shooting through the ocean. Everybody's racing to find Ushio first. Shinpei finds her first, grabs her. For some reason, she knows. I was waiting for him to say, scan the shell. Like, tell her to scan the shell. Like, I'm expecting, this entire time, I'm expecting that Shide is going to cut this short. Like, we're all happy. They've been reunited. All she got to do is scan the shell and then just, cut, and they're dead. But, yeah, I'm waiting for him to say, scan the shell. Tell her to scan the shell. And yeah, sure enough, he just holds it up and she immediately, I guess, knows to scan it. Or at least maybe it reacted. I guess you could say it just reacted. It made a scan noise, so... But yeah, she came back. She's restored. Ushio's back. Ushio fans, including myself, are super happy. What specifically she said, I'm back to kick some butt. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, I think this is the build-up. We might get a brief moment of talking after this, but I really do feel like I kind of hope for too is the next 4 episode is going to be just all out. Like, I just feel like we'll probably have an episode or maybe an episode worth of just them talking things out. Obviously, we still have to confront Haine about the fact that Shide is using her. But yeah, super hyped for episode 22. Hope you guys will join me for that when that comes around. But I thank you guys for watching this video. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon. I'll throw our tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that supports us. And y'all take care.